In our third context related to rate, we are going to be looking at currency exchange. So we know that different countries use different currencies. I'm not sure whether you know that there is a country out there that has the same currency rate as Singapore. Do you know which country is that? I will leave that to you to figure out and Google it. Okay, but for example, in Singapore we use the dollar. Okay, but Malaysia uses ringgit and Thailand uses baht. Okay, so there are different symbols being used sometimes, right, for different countries. So for example, in Malaysia, it uses RM to represent ringgit, and Thailand uses baht, so they use a B with a stroke through it, okay, for as a symbol. Although Singapore uses the dollar, there are many other countries that uses the dollar symbol as well, right? However, the currency is different, right? For example, Australia also uses the dollar, and US also uses the dollar as well. Okay, so in this section, we are going to be exploring how do we convert money from one particular currency to another currency. We shall first start off with an example that is slightly more straightforward. It will test us in terms of how we go about doing currency conversion first. Okay, so in this question, it says that the rates of exchange between New Zealand dollars, Philippines peso, and Singapore dollars are New Zealand dollars $1 equals to Sing dollars 0.9383, and pesos are 100 pesos is equals to 2.5109 Sing dollars. Do notice that while in Singapore currency, okay, in terms of our cash denomination, we don't usually have additional third or fourth decimal place. But then when it comes to exchange rate, there is usually higher decimal places so that the exchange is more accurate rather than having a shorter number of decimal places. Okay, so in part I, we want to convert 2,360 New Zealand dollars into Singapore dollars and giving your answer correct to the nearest cent. So let's look at the information that we're given. We're given two different exchange rates, one relating to New Zealand dollars, another one to Philippines peso. So in part I, we are looking at converting 2,360 New Zealand dollars. So naturally, we should be using the first exchange rate because that is only one that involves New Zealand dollars. So in part I, in order to actually do our conversion, okay, let's write down the exchange rate first. And since we're looking at 2,360 New Zealand dollars, okay, we know that by proportion, from 1 unit to 2,360 units, we will multiply by 2360. Likewise, on the right side of the equation, we will also multiply by 2360. And therefore, we will be able to get 2214.388 Sing dollars. Okay, and taking note that the question mentioned that it needs to be rounded to the nearest cent. Okay, and nearest cent would mean 2 decimal place, and therefore rounding this off, we will get 2214.39 and bracket nearest cent. I want us to take note about how I write this answer over here, this step, okay, the 2214.388. Firstly, I use an equal sign because it is an exact value that I got when I take 0.9383 times 2360. Okay, so therefore I use an exact equal sign. Okay, if let's say it is not exact, okay, so that means I press into a calculator and there are many decimal points, okay, as in there are many decimal places, right? Then how? Okay, usually we go with 3 decimal places or something higher, right? We need not write down all the digits that we see in the calculator. Okay, why do I say 3 decimal place? Because very often when it comes to currency, okay, it is usually left to 2 decimal place because that's the nearest 1 cent denomination. Right, so we usually need one more decimal place in order to have our rounding off, okay, in order to help us to do our rounding off in the next step. Okay, so that is one thing to take note. Another thing to take note is that in my working, notice that I have all the units written down in every single step. Okay, the reason is because if I don't have the units at all, do you think it makes sense to write 1 equals to 0.9383? I hope that you realize that they are not equal very clearly. Okay, so therefore, if without the units, your statement would not make mathematical sense. So you need to have the units in order to present mathematically accurately. Okay, so do keep that in mind and be very careful whenever you're doing currency exchange. Let's take a look at part 2 now. So in part 2, we want to convert 25,600 pesos into Singapore dollars and likewise to the nearest cent. So in this case, we will be using the second exchange rate that we are given. And what you could do in terms of your conversion, you could go and look for 1 peso. How much would it be in Sing dollars first? And that will be a division of 100 on the left and on the right, because 100 divided by 100 will get us 1. Okay, then we multiply 25,600, okay, on the left and on the right in order to get the amount of Singapore dollars this is actually going to be worth. And that will be 642.7904. And then rounding it off to the nearest cent, that will be 642.79. Okay. Then you notice that in this case, likewise, I did not keep actually 3 decimal places. Why? Because the value that I have gotten is actually exact. Okay. Something that I want you to also notice is that I did not proceed to calculate this 2.510 divided by 100. Okay, you can save some time over there by not calculating it. Otherwise, you can go ahead to calculate the value. That's also fine as well. Okay, another thing that you might be wondering is that why did I go through the hassle to find 1 peso? Okay, it is quite clear, maybe to some of us, that 25,600 is just 256 times of 100. So you could jump from 100 pesos to 25,600 pesos by multiplying by 256. And then on the right, we can just multiply by 256 as well. Alright, if you could see that very quickly, then by all means, you can present that way as well. Okay, there's no wrong in doing that. Alright, it is only wrong if you do not write your units. So I really cannot emphasize enough when it comes to units. Okay, please pardon my handwriting on screen because it is not that easy to write on screen, unlike paper. Okay, so I hope that you can see it well. This is PHP, not PhD. Okay. We will now move on to a second example related to currency exchange. So in this example, the rates of exchange between the euro, the Thai baht, and the Singapore dollar are euro $1 equals to 1.5736 Singapore dollars, and 100 baht is equals to 4.1559 Sing dollars. So in part I, what we want to do is to convert 5690 Sing dollars into euros. And because in the question we are given 2 different exchange rate, and for this particular example, for this particular part in part I, we should be using the first exchange rate that we are given. So let's first write that down. So 1 euro dollars is equals to 1.5736 Sing dollars. But because we're looking for the amount of euros for 5690 Sing dollars, maybe for convenience, I'll just switch it around, okay, to have the Sing dollars on the left side. Okay, so we can find out what is 1 Sing dollar first in terms of its euro. So we will divide by 1.5736 on both left and right side. Following that, because our goal is 5690 Sing dollars, we will then multiply by 5690 on both the left and the right side. Then we key this into our calculator to determine the value, and we find that it is not an exact value, so we will approximate it and we take 3615.912. So as mentioned in the first example, okay, usually I will take one more decimal place from the nearest cent. That means 3 decimal places, and I'm looking at truncation, by the way. Okay, I'm not doing any rounding off so that I don't do double rounding, and then it will cause accuracy errors. So with 3 decimal place, then I will decide how I should be rounding off. So because in the question it says that to give the answers correct to the nearest unit of foreign currency, okay, I do agree that in this question it seems a little bit vague, okay, because I wouldn't quite know what is the nearest unit of foreign currency in the different countries. But let us just take it as nearest whole, okay. So usually the question will be more clear, right? So I'm just trying to re-justify this question by saying that it is to the nearest whole. All right, so 3615.912 to round off to the nearest whole number, we will get 3616 euros. So that's our answer for part I. Now let's move on to part 2. For part 2, we're trying to convert 7460 Sing dollars into Thai baht. So we're given this exchange rate over here where 100 baht is equals to 4.1559 Sing dollars. So likewise, I'll just switch it around, okay, for convenience of seeing. So I will find 1 Sing dollars, okay, which is 100 divided by 4.1559 baht. Following that, I will then multiply by 7460 on both the left and the right, which will approximate to about 179,503.837. Okay, and therefore, upon rounding off to the nearest whole number, I will be able to get 179,504 nearest whole, and that's in baht. Okay. I know that earlier on, when we learned about approximation, truncation, and accuracy, in fact, I told you that intermediate steps should be truncated to 5 significant figures, but then sometimes it really doesn't make sense. It's not helpful to strictly follow the truncation to 5 significant figures, because in this case, okay, if I were to truncate to 5 significant figures, that means I will stop at 17950. Right, then I will be losing out on the 3. Okay, in fact, that should turn to a 0 for place holding purposes. Okay, but then that will not give me a correct answer. Right, in fact, I will be losing money. Right, when I do my final rounding off. So hence, we need to look at case by case basis and determine what is the best, okay, intermediate accuracy that we should be taking. I hope that this clarifies. In the third example related to currency exchange, we will look at this word problem here. So it says that a family travels from Hong Kong to Singapore for a holiday. They exchange 35,000 Hong Kong dollars to Singapore dollars. And it is at an exchange rate of 100 Hong Kong dollars to 16.988 Sing dollars. They then spent a total of 3,500 Singapore dollars in Singapore and converted the remaining, okay, into Hong Kong dollars at the end of the trip with an exchange rate of 100 Hong Kong dollars to 16.995 Singapore dollars. We want to find the amount of Hong Kong dollars they receive, giving your answer correct to the nearest dollar. So to go about answering this question, we need to know how much is the amount of money remaining. Okay, but because when they first stated in the question, they said that they exchanged 35 Hong Kong dollars. We cannot simply take Hong Kong dollars and subtract away the Sing to $3,500 because the currency is different. So we need to do some currency conversion. All right. One way to do so is to take the Hong Kong dollars and convert it into Singapore dollars first, according to the exchange rate in blue. Then we subtract away the 3,500 Sing dollars, and that will give us the remaining amount. But because the question wants the answer to be in Hong Kong dollars, we will then have to convert it again. It is purely up to you. What is the currency that you want to work on? All right, what is the currency that you want to work with in this question? Whether you want to convert the Hong Kong dollars into Sing dollars first, or you want to simply work with everything in Hong Kong dollars. So it's purely up to you. However, what I've decided to do is to convert the 35,000 Hong Kong dollars into Singapore dollars using the blue exchange rate. Okay, so this is where I did not go and find what is 1 Hong Kong dollars worth. I simply took 100 and multiplied by 350 to get 35,000. All right. Likewise, on the right side, I will also multiply by 350, and that comes out to be $5,945.80. So with this amount in Sing dollars, I can then subtract away $3,500. So I will then take 5945.80 minus 3500, and keeping to the unit, which is in Sing dollars, so that is $2,445.80 in Sing dollars. Okay, but now I need to do an additional step, which is to convert it into Hong Kong dollars, and I will need to use the exchange rate in green. So the exchange rate in green states that 100 Hong Kong dollars is 16.995 Sing dollars. For convenience, I will switch that around. Okay, and then I will find 1 Sing dollars. Okay, so 1 Sing dollar will be 100 divided by 16.995, followed by finding out what is 2445.80 Sing dollars by multiplying by that amount, and I will be able to get the Hong Kong dollars value. Okay, the question did also mention that it's going to be in nearest dollar. Therefore, despite me giving the answer up to 3 decimal place for my intermediate step, I will still round it off to the nearest whole number, which gives me 14,389 Hong Kong dollars. Let's take a look at part A. It says that Vani is leaving for New Zealand and she wants to exchange some Singapore dollars for New Zealand dollars. Which money changer would you recommend to her? So I want you to take a moment to actually think about this. Okay, if Vani were to go to a money changer, right, what is she trying to get? She is trying to get New Zealand dollars, and therefore the money changer should be selling her the New Zealand dollars. And therefore, which column should we be looking at for these different money changes? I hope that you're able to tell that we're supposed to look at the we sell column. So looking at the we sell column, we need to narrow it down to focusing on the rows New Zealand dollar. So for PQ money changer, for 1 New Zealand dollars, Vani has to give 0.9136 Sing dollars. On the other hand, for RX Forex, for 1 New Zealand dollar, Vani has to give 0.9102 Singapore dollars. So looking at these amounts, we see that Vani will be giving lesser money in exchange for 1 New Zealand dollar if she were to get it from RX Forex. That would definitely be more value for money, and therefore we will conclude that Vani, or rather we will recommend to her to go to RX Forex. That is because they sell New Zealand dollars at a lower price or lower rate, okay, which is New Zealand $1 to 0.9102 Sing dollars, in comparison to PQ money changer, whereby they sell 1 New Zealand dollars for 0.9136 Sing dollars. Okay, shall we move on to part B? So in part B, it says that Raju just returned from Boston and he wants to exchange his United States dollars for Singapore dollars. That's because Boston is in the US. So which money changer would you recommend to him? So Raju is holding on to United States dollars. He wants to get back Singapore dollars. So that means that your money changer, they will be buying the United States dollars. Alright, so therefore we will be looking at the column on we buy and focusing on the rows informing us about United States dollar. So 1 United States dollar, okay, we will the money changer will be paying 1.3580 Sing dollars for 1 United States dollar for the PQ money changer. Whereas for RX Forex, we will be for RX Forex, they will be giving 1.3593 Sing dollars whenever you give 1 United States dollar. So naturally, we want something that's more value for money. We want to get back more in return, and therefore comparing these two decimals, RS Forex has a better exchange rate, whereby they will give us more Sing dollars for 1 United States dollar, and therefore Raju should go to RS Forex, okay, as they buy US dollars at a higher price than PQ money changer. Okay. In this last example on currency exchange, we will dive deeper into what is it like in the real life situation. Okay, in the real life context, we don't usually have the exchange rate directly given to us. If you have ever been to a money exchange or money changer, you would have seen that they will have a large table or a big screen, okay, in the shop telling you what is the exchange rate. And then there is this confusing, okay, column that says we sell, and then another column that says we buy. So what does it actually mean, right? So today, okay, I will explain that to you. So in this question, it says that money changers usually display exchange rates in a table form. So that was what I just mentioned. There are two columns, we sell and we buy. The column we sell actually refers to the money changer selling 1 unit of foreign currency. So the words sell and buy is always from the perspective of the money changer. So don't forget that money changers are selling money. So what kind of money are they selling? They are selling the currency that you probably need. Okay, so for instance, okay, for this PQ money changer under the we sell column, what this means is that for 1 United States dollar, they will be charging you 1.3780 Sing dollar. Okay, so that is what this statement actually means. Then there is also a column that says we buy. And this column tells us the money changer buying 1 unit of foreign currency. So for instance, for this PQ money changer, okay, under the we buy column, they are buying a United States dollar, 1 United States dollar, for the price of 1.3580. That means that if you have United States dollar and you're going to give it to them, okay, not technically speaking, you're not giving them, they will actually pay you in Singapore dollars 1.3580. So I hope that you now understand what we sell and we buy actually means. So now in part A, Vani is leaving for New Zealand. So naturally she will need New Zealand dollars. So she will be exchanging some Singapore dollars for New Zealand dollars. So we are supposed to recommend to her which money changer we would need.